picture this. You're sitting in a classroom, and the teacher's just kind of rambling on and on and on about a topic for over an hour, and you're just sitting there and listening to them. There's no guided reading, there's no note-taking, you're just listening to them. Would anybody really be able to give me a complete rundown of everything the teacher was saying?
No.
I mean, I'm sure you could give me a couple points that he was talking about, or even the whole central topic that he was kind of going off of, but students really have to be engaged in what you're teaching. My name is Kayla Creston. I am arguing that hands-on learning is essential for students' academic success. And within this presentation, I'll be covering the hands-on learning effects of encouraging student participation, the uses of assessment for teachers, and also how you can apply what you've learned into the real world. So, hands-on learning is an essential must-have for all educators, no matter who you are. And when it comes to kids just sitting like statues and just being in the class, they're not really there. They're not listening to you. According to a book I read called The Lecture Toolkit, talked about a study performed by Dr. Philip Race, and it talked about teachers saying on average about 100 to 200 words every minute, and students are only hearing about half of these words. And about here with this little chart that I made, it talks about 60% of students not even paying attention to anything that's going on in the classroom, leaving 40% kind of listening, but not really actually engaged. Now, with this, hands-on learning can really benefit encouraging student participation, because you can do things like getting students up and moving, getting them to talk with their peers, and getting them to do work together in groups. And you can also incorporate items of interest into your lessons. Now, that's the easiest form of this kind of technique that you can use, because it allows students to be able to build a physical. Oh no, sorry. It allows students to actually make patterns out of blocks, like here in this picture I was using with Unifix cubes. You can make patterns out of the blocks, you can have organization problems that they can do, and also even counting with these. And it really lets students build a physical representation of what you're trying to teach them, and it kind of gets them just actually doing something with their hands during the lesson. Now, not only does it encourage student participation, but hands-on learning also allows for types of assessment. And what this means is teachers are going around seeing what you know, what you've learned, and if you actually understand what they were trying to teach you. And with assessment, it can help teachers figure out whether the class as a whole can move on to the next topic because they actually understand what you're trying to teach them, or if they're falling behind and you need to kind of go back and reassess and figure out something else that's going to work better. With the blocks, you can go around and see if the students are actually getting what you're trying to teach them. And if you see that they're getting it, you can encourage them to be a little challenged a little more. You can have them create their own patterns, find different ways of organizing the blocks other than ways you told them to do it. And it's also, you can have them build towers or just let them play with the blocks, release a little bit of stress from everyday classroom antics. And also, another type of assessment that's good with hands-on learning is peer assessment. And there's another article I read called The Impacts of Peer Assessment by Julie Jones that talked about students learning from students, where they can talk back and forth with one another and actually see what their peers know and hearing it instead of from the teachers, from their friends, and also their classmates, and get new insight as to what they're actually trying to figure out. Now, this doesn't just benefit the students, but it benefits the teacher, because it can just kind of sit there and listen. Okay, they can think about a topic. What don't I need to cover, and what do I need to go over, so they actually know everything about it. And then after you've assessed them to see if they actually understand it, the real test comes in, where you see if they can actually apply what you've taught them to real-world situations. Because most of the time students will sit in class and they'll think, when am I ever going to use this in my life? When you use hands-on learning techniques, you can kind of just help them figure out just why we're trying to do all the things we're trying to teach them, and figure out ways that they can incorporate it in just their everyday lives. And the best technique for this hands-on learning technique anyway for this, is through observational learning. And there was another article that I did read called Eyes on Hands-On, Various Observational Learning as an Enhancement to Direct Experience. And what this article really talked about is talking about observational learning being like a direct link to what your teacher is trying to teach you, because it's learning through experience. You gain new knowledge through experience. And for me personally, this is the most beneficial types of techniques for me, because here at Mount Union, I am obviously in classrooms constantly, whether it's just tutoring students 2-on-1 or 1-on-1, and working in the classroom, making family night activities for students and their families to work on family cooperation. And also, this is a summer learning kit I built for one of my kindergarten observation students, so he didn't fall behind over the summer, can work on math and reading techniques so he's ready to move on to first grade. And it really also, all of this helps me see what kind of a teacher I'm going to be in my life whenever I graduate and I move on from here, and I can see how to engage with my students, some things that work, some things I really don't like, and things I do like, and how I want to be in my own classroom. The majority of students can benefit from all the things hands-on learning does for them. It can get you moving in the classroom and not just sitting there listening to someone ramble on for hours on end. It can helps teachers actually see what you know so they don't waste your time in class, or they can help you so you don't fall behind. And then it also helps you see why we're actually trying to teach you the things we're trying to teach you, so you can use it and benefit from it in your everyday life. Because if we're not letting students learn through experience, they're not really learning anything at all. So hands-on learning is such an easy technique. It's easy to incorporate in all classrooms and should be encouraged all across America.
Okay. All right, you're done.